Welcome to Veil, your window to the world. Get ready to peel back the layers of global news in a fresh and engaging way. Here at Veil, we shine a light on the stories that shape our planet, from breaking headlines to inspiring human interest pieces. Join us as we navigate the complexities of current events, providing clarity and context to what really matters. Stay informed, stay curious, and let's explore the world together. Don't forget to subscribe, comment and like for your daily dose of headlines that matter. The cost of contraception, China's strategic tax hike on condoms and the demographic crisis. In a move that signals a pivot from the carrots of subsidies to the sticks of economic pressure, China is set to impose a 13% value-added tax, VAT, on condoms and other contraceptives starting January 1, 2026. This policy change, reported by The Guardian, marks the end of a 3-decade exemption and represents the latest, and perhaps most controversial, attempt by Beijing to reverse a plummeting birth rate that threatens the country's long-term economic stability. For over 30 years, contraceptives were exempt from the national VAT regime established in 1993. This exemption was a vestige of the one-child policy era, a time when the state's primary demographic goal was to limit population growth through any means necessary. Today, the landscape is unrecognizable. Facing a shrinking workforce and a rapidly aging society, the Chinese government is now desperate for more babies. A symbolic shift in policy. The introduction of the 13% VAT is part of a broader modernization of China's tax laws, which seeks to codify administrative regulations into formal law. While officials frame the move as a technical adjustment to the tax code, demographers and social observers view it as a profound symbolic gesture. He Yafu, an independent demographer, noted that since the state no longer promotes contraception, resuming taxation on these products is reasonable from a policy consistency standpoint. However, the financial impact on the state is negligible. Analysts estimate the tax will generate roughly 5 billion yuan, $700 million, annually, a drop in the ocean compared to China's total tax revenue of 22 trillion yuan. This suggests that the motivation is less about filling government coffers and more about social engineering. By increasing the cost of preventing pregnancy, the state is making its preference for desirable family behavior clear. From incentives to sticks. Over the last decade, China has tried various incentives to encourage couples to have more children. The transition from a 2-child to a 3-child policy, cash subsidies for newborns, discounts on IVF treatments, and extended parental leave have all been deployed. Just recently, the government allocated 90 billion yuan for a nationwide childcare subsidy program and expanded national health insurance to cover all childbirth-related expenses. Yet, these carrots have largely failed to move the needle. In 2024, the birth rate stood at a meager 6.77 per 1,000 people. While slightly higher than the record lows of 2023, it remains far below the replacement level needed to sustain the population. The move to tax condoms suggests that the government is growing impatient. Social media users on platforms like Weibo have reacted with a mix of ridicule and alarm. One user remarked, "They are truly going to extreme lengths just to make us of children." There is a growing sense of intrusion, especially as reports surface of local officials in provinces like Yunnan monitoring women's menstrual cycles to identify expectant mothers. The gendered burden. Sociologists warn that the condom tax will not be felt equally across society. Yun Zhu, an assistant professor at the University of Michigan, points out that if access to contraception becomes more expensive or difficult, the burden will fall most heavily on women, particularly those in disadvantaged economic positions. The policy arrives at a time when young Chinese people are increasingly disillusioned with marriage and child-rearing. Factors such as the high cost of living, intense work culture, 996, and the lying flat, Tangping, movement have led to record low marriage rates. For many, a 13% tax on condoms won't be enough to force a decision to have a child, but it may increase the rate of unintended pregnancies or drive people toward less reliable forms of birth control. A demographic deadlock. The demographic challenge China faces is structural. As the death rate rises due to an aging population, the country has seen its total population shrink for 3 consecutive years. Cash-strapped local governments are already struggling to pay out promised childcare subsidies, creating a gap between central policy goals and local reality. The condom tax is unlikely to bridge this gap. Experts agree that the cost of a packet of condoms, typically between 40 and 60 yuan, is not the primary factor preventing couples from having children. The real barriers are the prohibitive costs of education, housing, and the lack of social safety nets for working mothers. Conclusion. China's decision to tax contraceptives is a clear signal that the era of family planning has been replaced by an era of state-encouraged breeding. However, by focusing on the stick of taxing condoms rather than addressing the systemic issues that make parenting daunting, the government risks further alienating a generation already skeptical of the state's role in their private lives. As the January 1st deadline approaches, the policy stands as a testament to the urgency of China's demographic crisis. Whether it will result in more babies or simply more resentment remains to be seen, but it highlights a government willing to reach into the most intimate aspects of its citizens' lives to secure its national future.